As a new official, learning the rules of high school basketball, it can seem extremely daunting. While there's only 10 rules, those rules contain hundreds of sections in total. There are 30,000 words in the National Federation of High School Basketball Rules book. What is more important? What do I need to focus on? What can give me my best bang for the buck? Well, one of the things that happens in a basketball game a lot are throw-ins, right? Throw-ins are one of the 3 restarts in the game of basketball. We have a jump ball to start the game, we have free throws, and we have throw-ins. And throw-ins occur a lot. If we dominate our understanding of the rules and restrictions on throw-ins, we have covered a big portion of officiating a high school basketball game. In terms of our rules knowledge, we want to have 100% rules knowledge. I know all the rules, I dominate the rules book, etc. But when we go out on a basketball court and officiate a basketball game, all the rules don't come into play. They may come into play, possibly, but the rules book contains rules about things that happen once in a decade, once in a year, once in a month, once every 5 games, etc. Right? If we focus on the basics, on the meat and potatoes, on the things that we're going to do over and over again on the court, we're going to evaluate guarding by defenders. We're going to evaluate ball handling by offensive players all game long, right? If we become expert at those, we are in a better position. We're using the 80-20 rule, right? We can learn 20% of the most important rules and give us 80% of the knowledge we're going to need to step onto the court and officiate the game. So today we're focusing on throw-ins, and throw-ins happen a lot. There are 3 restarts, but how many jump balls do we have in a game? 1. Maybe 1, maybe 2, possibly more, but on average, 1. We have free throws. Hopefully we don't have too many. But we have free throws, a certain amount, maybe a couple of dozen. But throw-ins happen constantly throughout the game. And if we're comfortable with those rules, we're in a better position to succeed. So today we're looking at the rules and restrictions of throw-ins in National Federation of High School Basketball Rules. Okay, so let's take an overview of what we're going to cover today. We'll look at the definition. We'll look at the topography, who goes where our throw-ins are. We'll look at restrictions on both the thrower and defensive players. And as well, we'll look at throw-in violations. So, definition, topography, restrictions, and violations. Whenever we start with the rules about anything, we want to go to Rule 4. The most important rule in the rules book for new officials. So we're talking about which gives us our best bang for a buck. If you are a new official, learning the definitions is the fundamental place to start. All of the other rules are built upon the foundation provided by definitions. So today we're looking at Rule 4-42, the throw-in, thrower, and designated spot. There are many articles here in the definition, and understanding them, and they're all basic, but understanding them is critical to developing that foundation that we need to succeed in understanding the rules and restrictions on throw-ins. Article 1, the thrower is the player who attempts to make a throw-in. Straightforward. Article 2, a throw-in is a method of putting the ball in play from out of bounds. Perfect. Article 3, the throw-in and the throw-in count begin when the ball is at the disposal of the player who is entitled to it, right? Understanding disposal of the ball to the thrower, understanding disposal is critical to our understanding of the rules. Where can we find that information? Rule 4. Excellent. In Article 4, the throw-in count ends when the ball is released by the thrower, so the passed ball goes directly onto the court. So with every restart, we need to know when it starts. It starts when it's at the disposal of the thrower. When does it end? The throw-in ends when the passed ball touches or is touched by another player inbounds. The passed ball touches or is touched by another player out of bounds. The throw-in team commits a throw-in violation. So the throw-in ends when the ball is legally touched inbounds, when the ball is touched out of bounds, or when there is a violation. Remembering, with a restart in high school basketball, a special set of rules and restrictions comes in. It only applies during the restart. So understanding when the restart starts and when the restart ends is critical to understanding when the restrictions start and when the restrictions end. And then within that start and end, we will have points along the way where we may eliminate the restrictions. So we have restrictions on the defensive player. When the thrower releases the throw-in pass, some restrictions go away, but the throw-in does not end until it is legally touched inbounds, touched out of bounds, or a violation occurs. The designated throw-in spot is 3 feet wide with no depth limitation and is established and signaled by the official prior to putting the ball at the thrower's disposal. So, understanding what a designated spot is, what its actual attributes are, it's not a circle, it's not a spot, it is a point on the floor that establishes an area that is 3 feet wide and extends back until it runs out of room. And the only restriction is that the thrower must keep 1 foot on or over the designated spot until the ball is released. Traveling and dribbling rules are not in effect on a throw-in, right? A basic rules premise, one that is misunderstood by many who think that if a player moves their feet during a throw-in, they have traveled in some fashion. But if we understand the rules, then we are in a better position to succeed. So there we have it. Rule 4-42, throw-in, thrower, and designated spot. Now let's take a look at the topography of the court and understand where throw-in spots are relative to the court. Rule 7, Section 5, resumption of play and throw-ins. We're going to set the resumption of play procedure aside for now and focus on the rest of the rule. So, Article 2, a designated out-of-bounds spot throw-in is nearest violation. Okay, so we're going to talk about this rule addresses where throw-in spots are relative to different things that occur. The officials ruled a violation. Where is the resulting throw-in spot? The officials assessed a technical foul. Where will the ultimate throw-in spot be? The officials had an intentional foul. Where will the throw-in spot be? The officials had a common foul. Where will the throw-in spot be? The officials had an inadvertent whistle. Where will the throw-in spot be? So let's look at all those scenarios addressed in the rule here. So after any violation, the throw-in spot is the spot nearest the violation. The ball is given to the opponent of the team that violated. After goaltending or basket interference by the offensive team, which are, of course, violations, then the throw-in spot would be on the end line nearest the violation. And after a free throw violation, the ball will be at the disposal of the opponent of the thrower at the spot nearest the violation. Article 3 addresses a situation where we're going to have a designated out-of-bounds throw-in nearest to where the ball became dead in a situation where after a double personal foul, after a double technical foul, simultaneous foul, or a play must be resumed at the point of interruption. So we've had a double foul. The ball will be, the designated spot will be at the spot nearest to where the ball was when the foul was occurred. If we have an inadvertent whistle, we're going to have a designated spot nearest to where the ball was at the time of the whistle. So the ball may be bouncing in the back court. Official has a whistle, but it's an inadvertent whistle. It's going to be given to the team in control at a spot nearest to where the ball was in that instance. Again, this is what Rule 7, Section 5 is discussing, is where the resulting throw-in will be. It's for a foul, it's going to be near at the spot nearest the foul, player control, team control, intentional foul, a resulting or flagrant foul. Our resulting throw-in will be at the spot nearest the foul. Article 5 specifies that if the throw-in spot is in the lane area underneath the basket, that we will bring the player not at the spot nearest to that, but bring them outside the lane line for the resulting free throw. We don't want players having throw-ins under the basket on an administered throw-in. Obviously, after a made basket, when it's unadministered, they can choose to make that throw-in pass from under the basket. Article 6 refers to a division line throw-in opposite the table after a technical foul or to start the second, third, or fourth period. So after a technical or to start a period, second, third, or fourth period, we're going to have a division line throw-in opposite the table. And Article 7 addresses a situation where after a scored goal, the opponent of the team that scored has the right to move along the end line for the resulting free throw. It's not a designated spot throw-in. It's also, in most common instances, unadministered. The officials are not involved. The players pick up the ball. It becomes at their disposal when the official makes a judgment about that and begins a count on the throw-in. Throw-ins are not allowed underneath the basket. We bring the player outside the lane area. Throw-ins at the division line opposite the table, right, for a technical foul, or to begin the second, third, or fourth period. Further clarification is given about throw-ins in the front court, where the location of the throw-in is clarified to be a line from the corner of the court to the elbow, includes the semicircle, and then from the elbow on the opposite side to the corner of the court. Any violation or foul that occurs in that area becomes an end line throw-in. Anything outside that area will be a throw-in at the sideline nearest the foul. Now let's discuss restrictions on players, both the thrower, teammate of the thrower, and the opponent. Those rules and restrictions are addressed in Rule 7-6, Throw-in Administration. And the instruction is given that the official must hand or bounce the ball to the thrower for a throw-in unless the throw-in is from outside an end line following a successful goal. So, following a successful goal, the officials are not involved in the administration during play. Obviously, they would be after a timeout. But the players are empowered to begin the throw-in without official intervention after a scored goal. The throw-in begins when the ball is at the disposal of the player of the team entitled to the throw-in, and they must release the pass directly onto the court within 5 seconds after the throw-in begins. There's a 5-second restriction to release the throw-in pass, not for the throw-in to end, just to release the pass. The throw-in pass must touch another player inbounds or out of bounds on the court before going out of bounds untouched. The throw-in pass must not touch a teammate while it is on the out-of-bounds side of the throw-in boundary plane. Okay, so a team must pass the ball onto the court, and it must be touched by a player before going out of bounds. You cannot pass the ball to a teammate. The throw-in pass must not touch a teammate while it is on the out-of-bounds side of the throw-in boundary plane. The thrower must not leave the designated spot until the ball has been released on a throw-in pass. Okay, so we've defined that already in definitions. The throw-in spot is a 3-foot wide area designated. The middle of this is our designated spot. The player must keep 1 foot only, above or on that designated spot. If they fail to do so, if they step away from that spot, then they have violated on a designated spot throw-in. That's a restriction. Article 4, the opponents of the thrower must not have any part of his or her person through the inbound side of the boundary plane, of the throw-in boundary plane, until the ball has been released on a throw-in pass. Okay, so we've just defined something. An imaginary plane that exists on the inside of the out-of-bounds line. Okay, the opponent of the thrower must have all parts of their body behind that. They cannot extend a hand through the boundary plane until the throw-in is released. After the throw-in release is released, that restriction disappears. And understanding that can be really important. Article 5, teammates must not occupy adjacent positions which are parallel to and within 3 feet of the boundary line if an opponent desires one of the positions. The 3-foot restraining line is sometimes the temporary boundary line. Okay, this is obscure, but it's a rule. Understanding it, this is one of those things, this is not part of our 20%. Right? It's part of the rule, but this is obscure. If we don't understand this part of the rule, it is not a deal breaker. Understanding the fundamentals about where defensive players have to be, what the restrictions on the thrower are, much more important. But there it is, Article 5 and Article 6. When an official administers a throw-in to the wrong team, the mistake must be rectified before the throw-in ends. This rule, added relatively recently, clarifies a situation where the officials erroneously gave the ball to the wrong team for an alternating possession throw-in, let's say. The ball is inbounded, dribble, foul, something. Then the recognition, oh, wait, we gave the ball to the wrong team. NFHS steps in and says, look, just to be clear, once the throw-in ends, our opportunity to correct that situation is gone. We must correct before the throw-in ends. Simple, straightforward. Now let's discuss throw-in violations. Straightforward, obviously. So our 80-20 rule applies to in several areas. One of which is if we learn the 20% of the rules that are most important, like Rule 4, Rule 9, Rule 10. We've exceeded a little bit, but if we learn those rules, we are way ahead of the game. Okay, that's an area to focus on. So Rule 9-2 gives us throw-in provisions. Let's take a look at those now. Article 1, the thrower must not leave the designated throw-in spot until the ball has been released on a throw-in pass. Straightforward. It's already been described. The violation says the same wording. The thrower must not leave the spot Leaving the spot would be failing to have one of their feet above that 3-foot wide area that extends back as far as it can go prior to the release of the throw. Simple, straightforward. Article 2, the ball must be passed by the thrower directly onto the court from out of bounds so it touches or is touched by another player in bounds or out of bounds on the court before going out of bounds. So if the ball is passed and it fails to touch a player and goes out of bounds, that is a throw-in violation by rule. Important to know that because the ball went out of bounds way over there. But a throw-in violation means that the resulting throw-in, since it occurred as the result of a violation, will be at the original throw-in spot. Article 3, the thrown ball must not be touched by a teammate of the thrower while the ball is on the out-of-bounds side of the throw-in boundary plane, except as in 757. 757 allows a teammate of the thrower after a made goal to be in the out-of-bounds and receive the ball thrown by a teammate out of bounds after a made goal only. So this rule clarifies that we couldn't have a player extend through and say, hey, throw me the ball here where the defense can't reach it. They can't reach across the boundary plane. I'll just reach across the boundary plane. You throw me the ball, and we've avoided defensive pressure, right? Can't do that. Can't do that. Okay. Article 4, once the throw-in starts, the ball must be released on a pass directly into the court before 5 seconds have elapsed, right? During a throw-in, officials have a visible count, a 5-second count. The throw-in pass must be released before the 5 seconds elapse. Article 5, the thrower must not carry the ball onto the court. This is really unique language, carry the ball onto the court. I suspect that this is like one of the original rules of basketball. Carry the ball onto the court. Basically, this clarifies that the thrower may not step onto the court before releasing the throw-in pass, right? Understanding what onto the court means is really important because they can certainly step on the line, but is the line part of the court? No. Understanding that is critical. Players not allowed to step onto the court or carry the ball onto the court before they release the throw-in pass. Article 6, the thrown ball must not touch the thrower in the court before it touches or is touched by another player. Kind of convoluted language, but basically the thrower can't be the first to touch the throw-in after it's been released. Can't release the throw-in, run, and then go touch the basketball. Another player on the court, either the opponent or a teammate, must touch the ball before they are legally allowed to touch the ball. And Article 7, the thrown ball must not enter the basket before it touches or is touched by another player. We cannot have a throw-in that enters the basket, either basket. Thrown ball must not become lodged between the backboard and ring or come to rest on the flange before it touches or is touched by another player. Feasible, right? Our first reaction may be, oh, the ball got lodged, that's a held ball. No. On a throw-in, that's a throw-in violation by rule. Article 9, the thrower must not be replaced by a teammate after the ball is at the thrower's disposal, except as in 757. Okay, so a designated spot throw-in, the ball has been handed to the thrower. The ball has become live. The throw-in has started. Once that ball is at the disposal in that situation, another player cannot step out of bounds and replace the thrower. 757, again, gives us permission to, after a made basket, multiple teammates can be out of bounds legally. The ball can be passed amongst the teammates legally. But the only restriction is that the throw-in pass, none of which these passes between teammates out of bounds are, but the throw-in pass must be released within 5 seconds after the throw-in begins. So player A steps out of bounds, and their teammate and the official begins the throw-in count. They throw it to a teammate. The official continues their throw. They throw it back to the original teammate, but the count continues. The only restriction on the team is they release the throw-in pass within that 5 seconds. Article 10, the opponent of the thrower must not have any part of his or her person through the inbound side of the throw-in boundary plane until the ball has been released. Note also that the thrower may penetrate the plane provided he or she does not touch the inbounds area or a player inbounds before the ball is released on the throw-in pass. The opponent is in this situation may legally touch or grasp the ball. So this is a super unique scenario. The thrower cannot reach through the boundary plane, that imaginary plane, but the defensive player, rather, cannot reach through that imaginary plane and extend beyond, but the thrower may legally extend the ball over the court. If the thrower moves the ball through the imaginary plane over the court, the defensive player may now legally contact the basketball by rule. So the restriction on the defensive player is clarified, and in our note, we note that the thrower may extend the ball, and it creates a wildly unique situation in the game, one we need to be prepared to adjudicate. All right, the penalties for violations. The first violation of the throw-in boundary plane by an opponent of the thrower must result in a team warning for delay being given. 1 delay warning per team. The warning does not result in the loss of the opportunity to move along the end line when and if applicable. So the ball is at the disposal of the thrower. The defender reaches through the boundary plane and violates. The official puts a whistle if it's the first such violation, if it is the first instance of any of the 4 delay of game warnings in the game. That is the procedure. An official warning is given. It's registered in the book, a delay of game warning. Proper notification of the coach that a delay of game warning has been issued. If that was a non-designated spot throw-in, the stoppage of play and the issuing of the warning has no effect on the player's ability to continue to move along the end line. That's clarified. Number 2, the second or additional violations will result in a technical foul assessed to the offending team, right? So if we had already had a warning for delay in the game, any warning for delay assessed to the team, a second such action would trigger a team technical foul by rule. 2 free throws and the ball, division line throw-in opposite the table. Article 3, if an opponent reaches through the throw-in boundary plane and touches or dislodges the ball while in possession of the thrower or being passed to a teammate outside the boundary line, as in 757, passed amongst teammates outside the court, a technical foul must be charged to the offender. So a player technical foul for contacting the basketball while it is across the imaginary plane, while it is out of bounds, either in the thrower's hands or being passed amongst teammates. No warning for delay is required, but we have to remember that a warning for delay would also be assessed in addition to the technical foul. No warning for delay would have had to been required in the past in order to assess the technical foul. And number 4, if an opponent contacts the thrower, an intentional personal foul must be charged to the offender. No warning for delay required. It is an intentional foul by rule to contact the thrower. Intentional foul by rule to contact the thrower. Now, we can reach through the boundary plane and contact the thrower. Intentional foul plus a delay of game warning would be assessed. We can have the player extend the ball through the boundary, the thrower extend the ball through the boundary plane, contact on the thrower, intentional foul. But since there was no violation of the boundary plane, there would be no resulting warning for team delay. But it would be an intentional personal foul on the defensive player, 2 free throws for the offended player, and the ball for throw-in after an intentional foul at the spot nearest the foul. The resulting throw-in would be a designated spot throw-in by rule. And Article 11, no teammate of the thrower must be out of bounds after a designated throw-in begins. So once the ball is at the disposal of the thrower, a teammate of the thrower may not step out of bounds. Stepping out of bounds would be stepping on the line or the area outside that line. There's no restriction on a teammate of the thrower penetrating the plane and violating that fashion, but there would be a penalty if the ball was released on a throw-in and was contacted by the teammate of the thrower outside the court. All right, so we've had a lengthy discussion about the minutiae involved in the rules pertaining to throw-ins and general concepts. Again, in learning the rules of high school basketball, learning the rules regarding throw-ins has high value because, again, in the game, we're going to have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of throw-ins. They occur frequently. Much more important to focus on things that occur frequently, throw-ins, and followed by free throws, than something obscure. So, as a young official, take this to heart. Understand the rules and restrictions for throw-ins. It will make you a better official, give you the confidence that when anything happens in your game, you can know how to adjudicate, right? And these situations happen a lot. Let's also recognize one of the basic concepts of rules in National Federation of High School Rules. Some things in the rules book are specifically prohibited by rule. A player may not do this thing. Some things are specifically allowed by rule. Players may do this thing. But there's a third category, and that is things that are not addressed by either of the first two. And here's the thing about throw-ins. Since so many throw-ins happen during your game, many things can happen. Unusual things that make you step back and say, is that legal? Right? But if we understand what is not legal, what the restrictions are, then we are empowered to say, that is wild, that's crazy, but that's not illegal, right? And we can go forward. So really important to understand with any rules and restrictions, but especially throw-ins, is understanding what is prohibited by rule. That'll give us a great frame of mind to go forward, officiate, and get our calls correct. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Greg Austin with abetterofficial.com. You can reach out and contact us at our website at any time. Have a great season.